In February 2013, this surveillance footage was made public. It shows a young student, Elisa Lam, in what would be her final known moments before vanishing inside a historic Los Angeles hotel. Her behavior is bizarre, her gestures are frantic, and she seems to be hiding from someone or something. Days later, her body would be discovered in the most horrifying of places. The video didn't provide answers, it just left a world of questions. What really happened to Elisa Lam after those elevator doors finally closed? The story of Elisa Lam isn't just a mystery, it's a digital ghost story that captivated and horrified millions. It's a personal tragedy that unfolded under the harsh fluorescent lights of a hotel corridor and spiraled into one of the internet's most haunting modern legends. At the heart of it all was a 21-year-old Canadian student with a love for writing, a vibrant curiosity, and a deep desire to see the world. Elisa Lam was a student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. For anyone who followed her online, she was an open book. On her blog, she shared her thoughts on fashion, life, and her personal struggles with depression and bipolar disorder. Her writing was candid, poignant, and deeply relatable, painting the picture of a thoughtful and adventurous soul. In January 2013, she set off on a solo trip down the west coast of the United States, a journey she called her West Coast Tour. She arrived in Los Angeles on January 26th, excited to explore the city. She checked into a place that, unbeknownst to her, was already drowning in a history of darkness, the Cecil Hotel. To really get a grip on this story, you have to start with the place she vanished from. The Cecil Hotel, sitting on the edge of downtown LA. Skid Row wasn't just any budget hotel. Since it opened in 1924, it had collected nearly a century's worth of grim tales and tragedies. It was the site of numerous suicides and violent deaths, and it was a known home for serial killers, including Richard the Night Stalker Ramirez and Jack Unterweger, who both reportedly stayed there during their killing sprees. The hotel's reputation was so dark that by the time Elisa arrived, it had been partially rebranded as Stay on Main to try and attract a younger, tourist crowd, people just like Elisa. She initially checked into a shared, hostel-style room, but her stay wasn't without problems. Her roommates complained to management about what they called odd behavior, which reportedly included leaving strange notes on their beds. Because of this, Elisa was moved to a private room on January 31st. She was in contact with her parents every single day of her trip, and January 31st was the last day they ever heard from her. Elisa was scheduled to check out on January 31st and head to Santa Cruz. When that day passed and her parents didn't get their daily call, they grew deeply concerned. This silence was completely out of character. After not hearing from her for several days and her scheduled checkout had passed, they reported her missing to the Los Angeles Police Department. Police began an investigation at the Cecil Hotel. Her belongings were found right where she'd left them in her room. Her wallet, ID, phone, everything she'd need was still there. There were no signs of a struggle or foul play. It was as if she had just stepped out of her room and evaporated. For days, the search turned up nothing. Police dogs were brought in and tracked her scent within the hotel, even leading them to a window, but the trail went cold. With no new leads and public pressure mounting, the LAPD did something that would launch this case from a local story into a global obsession. They released the only real clue they had, the hotel's elevator surveillance video. The video is grainy, silent, and only about 2.5 minutes long, but it's deeply unsettling. When the LAPD posted it online, it went viral almost instantly, pulling in millions of views. The internet became a massive detective agency, with people all over the world dissecting every single second, desperate to make sense of the inexplicable. The footage starts with Elisa entering the elevator. She leans forward and presses a whole panel of buttons. Then she waits in the corner, but the doors don't close. That's the first thing that's strange. Elevator doors are on a timer they should have shut. Seeing the door stuck open, Elisa cautiously peeks out into the hallway, looking both ways. Her movements are furtive, like someone checking if they're being followed. She darts back into the elevator, pressing herself against the wall, as if trying to hide from someone just out of frame. Then, she steps back out into the hall, and this is where her behavior gets even more bizarre. She starts gesturing with her hands and arms, moving them in a strange, disjointed way. Her fingers are splayed as she seems to talk to someone or something invisible to the camera. She appears agitated, maybe scared. At one point, she puts her hands on the sides of her head. After almost 2 minutes of this, she walks off to the left and disappears from the camera's view. It's only then, after she's gone, that the elevator doors finally slide shut. They open and close a couple more times before the video ends. This was the last time Elisa Lam was ever seen alive. The footage ignited a firestorm of theories. Who was she hiding from? Was there an unseen person in that hallway? Or was she in the grip of a terrifying hallucination? The fact that the elevator seemed to malfunction, only working correctly once she was gone, fueled countless ideas, from the logical to the supernatural. For 19 agonizing days, Elisa Lam was still missing. The viral video had brought incredible attention to her case, but no real answers. Back at the Cecil Hotel, a new, disturbing problem started to crop up. Guests were complaining. The water pressure was low, and the water coming from the taps had a strange, foul taste and a dark color. On the morning of February 19th, a hotel maintenance worker, Santiago Lopez, was sent to the roof to check the hotel's 4 large water cisterns. The rooftop was a restricted area, protected by locked and alarmed doors, though there were also fire escapes that led up to it. To check the tanks, the worker had to climb a 10-foot ladder. That's when he noticed the hatch on one of the $1,000 Darrow-gallon tanks was open. He looked inside. There, floating face up in the dark water, was the nude, decomposing body of Elisa Lam. Her clothes, the same ones she wore in the elevator video, were found floating in the water near her, along with her room key. The horrifying discovery answered the question of where Elisa was, but it opened up a dozen more. The case instantly shifted from a missing person investigation to a potential homicide. How did she end up in a water tank on a supposedly locked roof? How could she have gotten into the tank herself? And why was she naked? The city of Los Angeles and the millions following her story desperately needed answers. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office performed a full autopsy, but the results just made things murkier. The examination found no signs of physical trauma, no cuts, bruises, or evidence of sexual assault. Investigators had considered that someone else was involved, but they concluded it would have been nearly impossible to force her into the tank without leaving a single mark on her body. The toxicology report was just as revealing. There were no illegal drugs or alcohol in her system. What the report did find were traces of her prescription medications for bipolar disorder. The levels were low, which suggested she might have been under-medicating or had stopped taking her medication in the days before her death. Finally, in June 2013, the coroner released the final report. The official cause of death was ruled an accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder listed as a significant contributing factor. As far as the law was concerned, the case was closed. Elisa Lam's parents later filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Cecil Hotel, but a judge dismissed it, ruling that the hotel couldn't have foreseen that a guest would find a way onto the roof and climb into a water tank. For the authorities, the book was closed. But for everyone else, the story was far from over. The official ruling just didn't feel complete and unsatisfying end to a story that felt so dark and complex. Official explanation has never fully satisfied the global community of online detectives that formed around this case. The gaps in the story and the sheer strangeness of the evidence have fueled a host of theories, from the plausible to the paranormal. A manic episode, the most credible and scientifically supported theory, is the one from the coroner. Elisa Lam was suffering a severe psychotic episode from her bipolar disorder. This theory suggests that by not taking her medication correctly, she had a break from reality. During a manic phase, bipolar disorder can trigger intense paranoia, hallucinations, and irrational behavior. Looking at it this way, the elevator video isn't a recording of a woman hiding from a real person, but a woman hiding from a threat that existed only in her mind. Her frantic hand gestures could have been her trying to communicate with or escape her own hallucinations. Pressing all the elevator buttons might have been a panicked attempt to get away to any floor to escape a danger she truly believed was there. In this paranoid state, she might have fled to the roof, possibly via one of the fire escapes, which would have bypassed the alarm doors. Feeling pursued, she may have seen the water tanks as a hiding place. Investigators believe she got in voluntarily, maybe taking off her clothes to keep them from weighing her down in the water. The tragedy, then, is that once inside, the slippery walls of the tank were too high to climb out. Exhausted and suffering from hypothermia in the cold water, she eventually drowned. And the heavy lid? The maintenance worker who found her said it was already open, a key detail that often gets lost in more sensational versions of the story. Even without physical evidence, many people are convinced Elisa Lam was murdered. This theory focuses on the logistical questions of the official story. How did a small woman get onto the roof, climb a 10-foot ladder, and get into a massive water tank all on her own? Since the rooftop doors were supposedly alarmed, how did she get up there without anyone knowing? This theory suggests she was chased to the roof, which would explain her panicked behavior in the elevator. Once there, she was either killed and put in the tank, or she hid in the tank and was trapped by her attacker. The lack of DNA is explained by the nearly 3 weeks her body spent in the water, which would have washed away any evidence. Some theories even point a finger at hotel staff or another guess someone who knew how to get to the roof undetected. Then there are those who claim the LAPD covered something up, based on the fact that the elevator video appears to have been tampered with. Online sleuths point out that the timestamp is obscured and that nearly a minute of footage seems to be missing, suggesting it might have been edited to hide another person. The supernatural and the curse of the Cecil. Given the Cecil's long and sordid history, it was almost inevitable that supernatural theories would pop up. Some have speculated that Elisa was a victim of the hotel's dark energy, or that she was interacting with a spirit in that elevator. One of the most specific paranormal theories connects her death to a ritual called the elevator game, an urban legend from Korea and Japan. The game supposedly involves pressing elevator buttons in a specific sequence to travel to another world. The legend warns that a strange woman might enter the elevator and you are not supposed to look at or speak to her. The bizarre rules of this game have a chilling resemblance to Elisa's actions, leading some to believe she was trying the ritual and something went terribly wrong. Fueling these theories are the eerie coincidences surrounding the case. Shortly after her death, a new strain of tuberculosis broke out on Skid Row, right near the hotel. The name of the test kit for this outbreak? The Lam-Elisa test. Another strange parallel was drawn to the 2005 horror film Dark Water *, which has a plot about a girl who drowns in a rooftop water tank and is found after residents complain about foul-tasting dark water. For many, the parallels are just too uncanny to be a coincidence. Those are the facts, and those are the theories. The official story points to a heartbreaking tragedy rooted in mental illness. The internet, however, continues to see the shadows of something more sinister. What do you believe happened to Elisa Lam? Do you think the official explanation tells the whole story, or do the unanswered questions point to something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you find mysteries like this compelling, stick around for more explorations into the unexplained. Conclusion: in the end, no matter what you believe, the story of Elisa Lam is a profound human tragedy. It's the heartbreaking story of a bright, vibrant young woman who lost her life in a terrifying and lonely way, likely in the midst of a severe mental health crisis. The former manager of the Cecil has said she wishes people would focus more on the reality of mental illness rather than on conspiracy theories. The case became a digital puzzle, an obsession for internet sleuths, and in that process, the real person at the center of it all was sometimes lost. The chilling elevator footage remains a haunting final glimpse of her last known hours, a Rorschach test where millions have projected their own fears about vulnerability, evil, and the unknown. The Cecil Hotel itself was renovated and reopened in late 2021 as an affordable housing complex in an attempt to write a new chapter over its dark past. While the coroner's report provides an official answer, the mystery of Elisa Lam endures because the evidence we can see just feels so out of sync with the conclusion we're given. The questions about the locked roof, the heavy tank lid, and her bizarre behavior in that elevator continue to echo through the digital corridors of the internet. And so, her story remains what it has always been: a chilling modern mystery, a tragic cautionary tale, and the deeply sad story of the last time anyone saw her alive.